Monkey D. Luffy is the protagonist of the manga/anime One Piece, and arguably one of the biggest names in fiction. Despite being made of rubber, he serves as the prime example of a static character. He is steadfast in his dream to become king of the pirates, and changes the hearts of those he meets on his journey. He is at the center of the century's most compelling narrative, spanning over 1,000 episodes, and yet Luffy remains the same stretchy pirate he was at the beginning of this epic story. This begs the question, how does a static character remain compelling? A static character is the exact opposite of the much more Hollywood-friendly dynamic character. Dynamic characters tend to thrive with American audiences, given their dramatized emotional turmoil fueling change within said character. The sentiment of "people are always changing" hooks audiences time and time again. This is quite obvious as growing and changing as a person is a very human experience. This makes dynamic characters easier to write and easier to love. In complete opposition to this is static characters. Unfortunately, static characters tend to be the unwanted stepchild of big budget Western production. This is why most often static characters are antagonists in mainstream media. Static characters change the world around them, therefore making them the independent variable of their story. While it's very possible to format a story in this way, it is so much easier to write about a person who changes for the world, rather than a world that changes for a person. The world essentially revolves around static characters to further drive the plot, but we aren't so lucky. We most often change and adapt to our world, leading to a disconnect between audiences and static characters, at least initially. When done correctly, static characters are inspiring, endearing, and obviously unchanging. Conveniently, that's how I would also describe Luffy. Constantly forcing his will onto others, Luffy is both comical and annoying at first glance. However, since Luffy almost always ends up the winner, this quickly becomes his most endearing trait. We rapidly gain faith in Luffy as he lays his life on the line time and time again, not only for himself, but for those he cares about, and continually succeeds, thereby creating both a dynamic supporting cast and world. This trait makes Luffy somewhat of a deity-like or religious figure of a character, but that's not what the focus of this discussion is. Now, does Luffy's inevitable success make the series somewhat predictable? At times, yes. Does this make it difficult to enjoy the story? Absolutely not. Because although we're not able to relate to Luffy, we can relate to his crew. Relating to Luffy's crew is without a doubt the most important factor regarding his success as a static character. Without going into too much detail, Luffy's crew is a diverse cast of characters, each holding their own dreams. Upon meeting Luffy, they are given the support and self-confidence to achieve these dreams. Each member of Luffy's crew has been changed by and subsequently joined him. This general structure may sound familiar, and that is because each of Luffy's crewmates are dynamic characters until the point they fully place their faith in Luffy. This diverse cast and tragic backstories creates lovable and relatable characters. The audience is then able to indirectly attach themselves to Luffy through his fantastic and relatable crewmates. In short, One Piece is written in a way that makes the audience feel connected to and inspired by Luffy, just as his fictional crew. Without the audience being able to connect to Luffy through his crew of once dynamic characters, he might have quickly become one of the most annoying characters in fiction, as opposed to one of the most loved. Sadly, this is a dilemma that many static protagonists fall into, as they're very difficult to relate to independently. This makes times when static characters fail much less impactful, because why should you really care? However, in Luffy's case, his failures may as well feel like your own, but that's a can of worms for another day. Overall, Luffy is the most successful example of a static character, serving as a beacon of inspiration for millions around the world. I personally hold this series very close to my heart, and let it serve as a reminder that I don't have to change for the world. If you haven't given this series a try, I highly recommend it, as the future King of the Pirates may just make you a dynamic character. This was my first try at something like this, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like, maybe share it. Anyway, thanks for watching.